There we go. Okay, so we're getting going this morning with our strategy meeting. Good morning, everyone. I just getting everybody's feedback. We're on recording now, so this will be recorded. Just give me your guys' feedback. What have you guys, been learning? Has it been helping as far as what you guys have done so far with the prospect and closure rate of millions?
I've gotten through like midway through the third one.
What's that?
The third CD.
Third CD. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's been probably the most beneficial of any of the things that's really spoken to me. It's really made a big shift in my whole approach.
Tell me more about that. How's that?
You sound like Danny.
I know.
Tell me more about that.
I really do. Tell me more, Lavelle. Go ahead, write it all down because it's helpful for me.
Well, I just think, in watching her do the have people in the audience come up and how she approached the calls, I'm totally much more natural. Like, I just feel like I'm talking to somebody that I know. Like, I'd be talking to you and just talking to them about reading the script that way. And it's, I really feel like that the right people will come to me. The people that are rude and all that, I can now just say, well, I pray you have a better day. And the people that are, then I talk to a mom that's a stay-at-home mom, and she's selling puppies to put her kids through private school. And I'm thinking, yeah, I need to talk. You're the person, one of the people I need. I need to give this opportunity to.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll give you a little tip what I do, Lavelle, since you're doing that. When you're on their About Us page and you're doing a cold call to breeders, try to pull that up. And if you can find a picture of them, I pull up, and when I'm talking to them, I'm looking at that picture.
That's a wonderful idea. That's a wonderful idea.
It helps me connect and focus, because focus for me is a big thing. I'm somebody that don't focus through really well, and I'm like, but if I can focus in like on their needs, their strengths, their interests, their goals, and get my ear really tuned to listen to what they're trying to tell me,
right?
And that is helpful.
And praying first.
Yes.
That I'm guided.
Yeah.
It really makes it's been really helpful to me. The whole week has been really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how are you finding any improvement in your numbers, whether it concerns any areas of when you're tracking? Are you seeing any results that relating to that as of yet? How's that going?
Well, I've doubled presentations this week.
Okay.
Compared to, and I've made more calls. I'm still following up. I've got 3 follow-up appointments for this week.
Okay.
So those are better numbers for me personally.
Good. And how's the show-up ratio been? Have people been showing up for the follow-up calls?
People, they have been showing up for the follow-up calls.
Okay.
I've had more success in making appointments for follow-ups this week than, pinpointing people to say, okay, what is a good time and day for you all? 6 o'clock Tuesday night,
Okay. And how are the follow-ups going?
Well, those are my follow-ups for this week's. My follow-ups from last week have, I've still got 2 people that are considering the opportunity. And I got them to plug into Monday night's call.
Okay.
So, that's all positive.
That's
I've had some people say I'm feeding ProPlan and I'm never going to change in my whole life. And I say, well, God bless you and have a great day.
Yeah. And you get off the phone with those people as quickly as possible so you can find the right ones.
Right.
Right. Okay, so really, really good job on that. Do you know what script to use when you're doing the follow-ups?
I've been using the script book, and I actually I wrote in about specific, like I've been using the page 24 and page 22 in the script book. and asking them what they saw that what they liked about what they saw, and then on page 24 the alternate closing script.
Yes, so you figured that out. Now that's a really good tip. Just a tip for you. If they tell you in your closing script, well, I've got to try this first. I cannot do that. You'll hear that very often with breeders. I'm not going to recommend anything I can't stand behind. You flip the page, you'll write your alternate closing script, and they just told you what they want, and your answer to them is, great. Your next step is to da-da-da. And you let your dog's bodies tell you how it's thinking. That's exactly what you're going to use.
And I wrote that one in. I do have a question about that. About your thoughts, and are you want to do questions at the end?
What's that?
I said, do you want to do questions at the end, or you want me to throw it out there now?
Well,
what are your thoughts on sending samples, like if they're a large breeder sending them a 20-pound bag versus them actually purchasing?
Now, what's your question again?
What are your thoughts on like on using that script? There's a 30-day money back guarantee. That makes me throw it into how motivated they are versus me ordering them some food and sending them
some food. Do not order and send them food.
I brought that up because I did that, and I sent a breeder who was a fairly large breeder a 20-pound bag because she also, and
it doesn't work.
Not only it does not work, it cost me $50,
and you don't get the money back if they don't like it.
Well, and not only that, I mean, she doesn't even return my calls now. So yeah. I brought that up to show other people that I think you're better off using the money back guarantee and seeing if they're motivated.
It pre-qualifies them, and you can also tell them, like I'm working with a breeder right now, and I don't flinch an eye. I had a guy yesterday, he was throwing all kinds of objections at me and what if and this and that, and I was just I have so many people I could be working with right now. Right now I'm looking for one breeder, top position on my team, who's willing to try it for 30 days, and I'm going to drive it through their center of influence. If it works and you can get behind it, you and I will be working together to drive your center of influence home out of the ballpark if you're serious about this. Just left it in his court. Yeah, those are all great questions. Anybody else? Anybody else been using doing the prospecting and closing? I want to hear how it's been for you, what you've listened to so far, and results, kind of what you're finding is. Results could be, wow, it changed my mindset. It could be anything. I just go ahead and pop in there and let me know, because I wanted you to get the most out of the little bit of time we have this morning.
I listened to almost half of it. I think I'm through like the first half. It's changed my mindset a lot. I agree. It's been the most, I guess, helpful to me so far, all of that I've listened to also.
Okay.
I'm talking to a breeder right now. I'm paying her to breed my collie.
Okay.
She has a bunch of collies, and she was showing me how they blow their coats and stuff like that.
Oh.
I mean, I haven't been on it long enough to, see that it doesn't, but she's getting pick of the litter, so I'm hoping my collie won't blow her coat when they have the babies, when she has the babies.
So when you don't have a story,
I'm going to talk to her when I go pick her up.
So what you need to do with her, Morgan, you don't have a story, so you share someone else's story. Go in the testimonials and grab Kelly DeSoto's story.
Okay.
Share that with her. That happens straight across the board with many, many breeders on my team. She's a show breeder. She has dogs back in the show rings when puppies are 8 weeks old. And it normally takes 4 months on most normal breeders for their dogs to look right and good again. So that's what you would do with her. And then, yeah. Awesome.
Have you added her to the testimonial page, Morgan?
No, I haven't yet. I just was talking to her briefly about it. She was trying to sell me on New Vet and Royal Canine, and I was just like, no, thank you. Yeah. So add her to the testimonial,
and then send her an email with, or add her to the testimonial and tag her in Kelly's post. That's even better. And then people will pop on there and say, hey, they'll encourage you and encourage her and her, you can comment and ask people to share their stories right in there. Say, hey, I have this breeder. She's worried about this issue with her dogs. I'm sharing Kelly's story, but does anybody else have a story they can share with her in this thread? And then you can tag her, and then people can pop in and help you and go to bat for that person.
Right.
That's a good way to do it. And then inviting her to the Monday night calls where she can actually hear testimonials, real life. Yeah.
I'm going to try. I don't know. She seems pretty set on her, Royal Canine, but.
Yeah.
They usually do if they don't have any problems. They don't want to change.
Yeah. And you got, that's, the questions on the breeder script is helpful because it helps you pre-qualify what's important to them. So asking her lots of questions like, what are you recommending right now? Obviously, it's Royal Canin. Why did you choose that food? Write it down. Why did she choose it? Tell me more about that. So she'll tell you more. And then you basically say, great, does Royal Canin have a breeder program that compensates you for all the referrals and customers you're giving away? No.
Yeah.
I get points. I get this kind of bag every once in a while. Oh, great.
Right.
How would you like to get paid for your referrals if you really found a quality food and then you list everything she told you why she likes her food? If you found a quality food that was maybe even cheaper than what you're recommending right now, or maybe the same price even, but it does A, B, C, D, list everything she just told you, and you get paid for your referrals, would you be willing to take a look at it? Oh, yeah, whatever. And don't ever say, would you be interested? It's, would you be willing to?
Okay.
Would you be interested raises objections and shuts them down.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I know a lot of people are hung up on the MLM thing, and they think that we're only trying to sell it because we're trying to make money.
Okay. That's why it's really important when you're forming them, Jeannie, that you're finding their sign. So when you form them, that's the whole reason you're doing that is you're trying. That's why Danny says oftentimes when you get on the phone with them, you should be forming them first to find out what's important to them. You want to know whether you're talking to a pearl who doesn't care diddly winks about money.
Numbers.
Numbers, right? Or money.
Right.
See, that was what doubled my closing ratios after first steps was I started figuring out when I was talking to a pearl and I switched my way of approaching it.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be saying, would you be willing to take a look at some information that would help you, help your clients' dogs have longer, healthier lives? Whatever they told you was important to them. You just verbiage it right back to them what's important to them. And that will completely change the playing field because their goals are not their goals. Their goals are not their goals. So you want to make sure you form them, and then once you find their sign, strength, interest, goals, and needs, it's pretty easy to move forward in closing them. I talked to one yesterday, and he just gave it right out to me, right out. Just looking for it. So that's super important. Yeah. Anybody else? Oops. Yeah.
I had done the presentation success. I mean, I was listening to that at work and stuff, and that's what's kind of hard, but I always have my notepad out, so I jot things down and everything. But I personally haven't made any cold calls yet. And I have the fear in me that this is not going to go well. But I reached out to a gal that she was advertising for some dog supplies, and I messaged her and I said it was an online website, and I messaged her and I said, are you privately owned or is this a big company? And started talking to her, and she goes, I said, would you be interested in being able to offer a high quality food? And she messaged me right away and she goes, when can we talk? So I'm at work yesterday and we've scheduled it for 10 o'clock yesterday, and she ended up messaging me. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'm running late. No problem. Talk to her. Here, she's in South America, but her business partner is in Texas. And I was giving her the whole rundown on the food and how it's helped me, and I was giving her testimonials, and she goes, this sounds absolutely amazing. I want to look further into it. So I sent her over, obviously, the presentation. I am going to invite her to Monday night's call because she's definitely business oriented. But I'm like, that was so easy. And it's just a conversation, but I'm too afraid of rejection. But at the same time, after listening to the prospects last night when I was driving and stuff, it's like, okay, next. I'm not going to waste my time anymore. Like, next. And I've gone to 4 first steps, and it's like, I've heard all of this, but all of a sudden, ding, it clicks.
Yeah, that's the importance of it. So like this particular series, I want everybody to be continuing to listen to it. And even if you go through the whole set and you start again at number 1, do it again this next week. Just play, 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 play. 30 minutes to 60 minutes a day, depending on your time. Minimum 30, plugging in and pressing play. And keep yourself, because we retain only like 25% information that we're listening to. And then after that, it goes down. So every time you're going to be hearing something like, I don't even remember hearing that, or now it's making sense, just like you are. It increases your belief and your skill set, because you start to pick things up and try things. Like I pulled out my Dynasty recording, MP3, and last week, and I listened to it again. And I wrote down one of the scripts in there, and I applied it, and it worked. But I had a need for it. And I was like, I remember that. I remember her talking about that, but I don't know what she said. Go pull it up, took notes, listened to it, and I just got so much out of it. So things like that, but with the prospecting, close your way to millions. You guys be plugging in, pressing play, continue next week with that, and we're going to drive those numbers home. So for you, Tony, and for everybody else on the call, when you're working, okay, but first let me ask if there's anybody else that wants to pop in before I move in, if they have any more questions, like on or input on what we were just talking about, and then I'm going to move on to one other thing I want to talk about.
I've been trying to get my sister to change her dog food. She was feeding Wildology, which is made by Diamond.
Okay.
Her dogs are shedding really bad all the time, and so I sent her some dog food and treats and everything, actually a package, because it's my sister, or I wouldn't have done it. Mm-hmm. But she said she switched one of them to Canaday, and then now she's switching them all to Canaday. She I don't know why she has a hang up on switching to the food that I feed, but she said she tried it and they preferred the Canaday over the Life's Abundance. So
yeah, and that's
all 3 of them.
Even with your family, you do have to pre-qualify who you hand those samples out to. More importantly, forming them and finding what their needs are. So did you do that with her? Did you actually find out why she's feeding the Canaday? What's her why? What's important to her? That's super important to know.
She has it in her mind that it's too expensive for 40 pounds. That's it, just in her mind. That's how she thinks, and she won't think any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're dealing with a cost issue, framing their mind, and sometimes you can't get past that with some people. I mean, I'm working with a guy right now, and he keeps coming back to, well, I'm going to be investing this, and I'm only going to get this much back in my next bag. So I tell him a story, follow it up with a story. I don't know about that. All I know is that so-and-so, you can even tell him my story, Judy. She was feeding Nutrisource. It was going to cost her $20 more a month to feed that food. And she almost said no to it because it was going to cost more. Switched over, got these results health-wise with her dogs, started recommending it to other people, and through the referral program got her dog food paid for in the first 2 months' time. So I don't know about that, but I do know that even though she was feeding the more expensive food, 2 months later it was completely free. Yeah, I know she's not going to want to sign up. I know that. Mm-hmm. It's just not, she works for UPS. She has another job. She has too much work on her hands. So yeah, and you can also, then you tell another story. You find out what her needs are. So if her need is cost, go on the testimonial page, pull up somebody that pops in there, say, I thought it was going to be more expensive. Here's my results. So if you are getting a lot of, this is another FYI for anybody, if you're getting a lot of objections on a certain area, like say it's always cost, say it's always MLM, you need to go in and be if for number one, there's something inside of you that's creating that objection. If you're getting it on a large scale, I used to always get the cost objections because I had a cost objection. So working on that inside of yourself and just, the understanding your mindset, that's a big thing. It's a poverty mindset that I had to break through for myself. And once I noticed a shift, as far as the kind of people I come in contact with. So I hardly ever get it. But when you're in that situation where you're getting that, right, get a notebook full of stories. So for every objection that you tend to get, go in the testimonial groups, create your own stories, look for stories, write them down, create them in your book so it's a handy reference when you're making your calls. And then your answer is this to every objection. I don't know about that. All I know is, and then find a story and read it. Just read the story you wrote down. Get yourself a resource, and then you'll have a little booklet you can actually write there, because you will find that in itself is going to be the biggest thing in helping close your clientele. Then you don't have to be going into this off on bunny trails about percentages and this and that and all these little things that don't matter. I don't know about that. All I know is, and stay away from that other kind of conversation that's going to lead it way off track and waste a lot of your time, and their time too, right?
Yeah, I'm not so much. I don't think it's much my sister. It's my brother-in-law. So
okay, yeah,
he just thinks he knows everything. He's that type of person.
Yeah, and so what you do is you just leave that. Don't ever marry a prospect in your mind thinking, they're so close. If I could just do a little more of this or that. Big time waster. You just move on to the next and move on to the next. And then you can come revisit her later and just check in with her from time to time. See if her needs have changed. Maybe her dog's got an issue, or, oh, I've been thinking about what you told me. And I mean, Christy Coopshaw is a really good example. She said no for years to Life's Abundance reps calling her about the food. And basically, because she didn't have all her questions answered, one day she was thinking about it and she thought, I wish one of those Life's Abundance people would give me a call. That was the day I called her. I called her that day and she's like, yeah, I'm ready. Sign me up. I'm like, she's like,
I said no for 8 years.
What's that?
I said no for 8 years.
There you
You've
go.
thought about it for 8 years?
I said no for 8 years. And I sit here, when I started my program, it wasn't months later that somebody contacted me. And I said, nope, not interested. But I also felt not like we're getting trained. You form people. And I felt it was constant, throw it down your throat. You're going to swallow this. Like she said, when you go with the bait, don't take the whole worms and shove it down their throat. And that's exactly what I felt. And the whole time, and I'm like, nope, 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 nope. And a week before Shayla, really good friend of mine, before she ever contacted me, I told my husband, I told Aaron, and I said, there's something missing in our dog's diet. There is something going on. And so I proceeded to look into LA, and it wasn't, but I don't know. I think maybe it was that night. And Shayla's like, hey, have you ever heard about this? I'm like, yeah, for the last 8 years. And she goes, you really need to consider this. I already knew what recalls were. I already knew everything that she was going to tell me because I have been researching it for 8 years, but the cost, that is where it was the cost. And if I would have done this years ago, I had a female that I had raised 3.5 years old, no heat cycles, nothing. I switch her to LA. Within 6 months, she has a heat cycle, she has a litter, and I just bred her back again for a second time. And she never had a heat cycle, period. But I had her full sister, no issues. But it was, and I'm like, stupid, hello.
Yeah, that's crazy. You'll find it, Tony, with rejection, okay? I want you to take a different aspect of that. With your rejection fear, when you're calling those breeders and picking up that phone call to make a cold call, you remember your story you just told me. You're going to run into a lot of breeders like I do who are out there saying, I looked at that, but they didn't get their questions answered. Someone was unprofessional or whatever. If you form them and you find that, you will actually find that those very same people you can bring right on board that other people are missing because of lack of professionalism, lack of follow-up, and lack of, and they didn't get their questions answered. A no is not a no. And, you know, typically the average person can't say no more than 7 times. It just means they didn't get their questions all answered. And then we have to pretty much wrap it up, but you guys are doing amazing. This week, when you're tracking your numbers, it's going to be, you're competing against yourself. You're not competing against any of the other team members on our team, you know, the leadership group. Your numbers should be always competing against the previous week's numbers. So if you want to hold yourself accountable to that, or you want to kind of help motivate you, and it helps you to do it this way, there's that tracking post with a little globe on it. It says tracking in our group. You can post it there. You're not required to, but if that helps you, say, okay, this week I did this. To me, it helps me to track my numbers, and then I can actually go back and look. I keep a notebook full of tracking numbers, and I track from years, and I can go back and I look, okay, this week, these are my closing ratios. And if, like Lavelle, if you're finding that people aren't showing up, for example, that for me was a weak link. I can actually track by where my numbers are, percentages, how they're doing. If I have a part that's kind of low, then I'm like, well, that for me, the show up said that my presentation was off. Something in my presentation is making them like, Tony, I don't want to talk to you. You know, I don't want to look at this. And what switched for me, I finally figured out, wasn't necessarily with my presentation. It was the website presentation. When I put the video on there, the 30-minute presentation video that I have on there right now on mine, that increased the closing ratio, the show up ratios to 75%. It went from 33% to 75% show up ratio. Like, boom. So I know it had to do with more what was on the website.
Is that on your personal website?
On the Healthy Pet Challenge, I just popped a video in there.
I see.
You guys can take a look at it. It's bestbreederprogram.com is my URL. If you want to look at that video, take a look at it, because that might change the playing field for you too.
What is it, Judy?
Bestbreederprogram.com. And
I'm just sending them to Top Dog. I'm sorry.
It's Top Dog. It's judylowry.topdogsystem.net, something like that. But I have my URL to go to that is bestbreederprogram.com. Yep. And then the other thing is on, some of you are bringing new people on the team. Training wise, it's really, really important that you use the petbiztraining.com. And I want you guys to, if you're training new people and yourself, review that again, because in the petbiztraining.com, the 500 to 2K a month training, that is the presentation success system in a nutshell for life's abundance. That's what that is.
I watched that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the presentation success system. Expose, involve, and upgrade, right? So for you, you want to make sure that your people understand, and you understand, don't overlook your warm market. You have to work that first before you even try cold. You're going to drive that warm market home. That's 50% of who you're talking, you know, who you should be talking to. That's 50% of your business right there. So, you know, check that out. And then when you've done that and you've learned how to create customers through your warm market and you've gotten like 4 customers, then we can start talking about getting reps on board and you see that list of contacts that you're working. So next week we can kind of work on that, but do a little review of that. If you have questions, we can write down questions for next week, but you want to be using that system, duplicating it, doing it yourself. And then when you train people, that's exactly what you put them through. Just duplication. Don't make it complicated. All duplication. Moving forward, the new normal for our team is going to be that we're going to be working on different training programs, and we're going to be just like right now we're working on prospect and close your way to millions. I don't know how many weeks we'll spend on that. We're going to spend some time on it. We're going to be using this one because that's what we're doing here is we're increasing our number of dials, whether it's warm market, lukewarm, cold. Lukewarm would be a situational prospecting at Walmart. Whatever you're good at, wherever your area is that you have people you can talk to is where you want to be working. but we're going to be working on that. So the new normal for us on our team is that in this group, and I'm weeding it out right now. There's some that have told me, Judy, I can't do this. I don't have the time. This is when I didn't really want to sign up for this. I've even had people criticize, complain, make excuses. And, for this particular group, we're going to keep it really clean in here. I mean, you'll see it over in my Abundant Living team. A lot of that, like Danny talked about at Houston. For those of you who made it to Houston, she said there's 6 type of people you want to avoid on your team. And this is hilarious because I was like, I think it was David that gave me the feedback on it, but it was helpful. Let me just go over it really quick.
This is 6 people to avoid
on your team. Get this. There's 6 people to avoid in your group. And this means even prospects. If you run across this type in prospects, you pass them off to someone else. You do not want those people in your team. I know that from experience personally, but this was good for me to put it in a nutshell. Chickens, babies. So write this down. Chickens, babies, sponges, shooting stars, snakes, and skunks. So the chickens, they're the ones that make excuses for everything you ask them to do. And you'll see that over in the My Abundant Living group. They're all over the place. Babies whine all the time. Those 2, you can handle a little bit. They go in what we call the crock pot. They're the ones that you send to the webinar Wednesdays or the free materials for the 30-day boot camp, right? You just keep directing them to where they can continue to be exposed to what's going to help them. Then you have the sponges. They're the people that just absorb and never do anything. So they absorb and never do anything. Shooting stars. They're the ones that make all the promises but never deliver. I have one in my particular, she called complaining about how the Monday night call went. And I said, why don't you step up and do the calls? And she's like, sure, I'll be glad to try it. I said, okay, your next step is to get registered for First Steps to Success in Washington, D.C. Okay, I'll sign up for that. And she still hasn't done it. So she's like a shooting star. She's does good on her own team, but she doesn't know how to duplicate and not work alone. So that's a shooting star, making all the promises but never delivering, right? Snakes, I love this one. They only join the group to try to steal clients. You'll see those in the testimonial group. And skunks, they make a big stink and then they leave. So write that down. But that being said, our new normal for our group, I'm really pleased with our group because we've been able to keep that fine-tuned and it's helped me. You guys are like a pilot group, but I think we now have it to a template that we're going to just work with moving forward. I know what's worked for me, and I'm not going to ever ask you guys to do more than what I'm doing. But right now our template is, and it will be a moving thing as we move forward. If we find moving forward, it helps to fine tune the qualifications to be in the group. Fine, we'll do that, but we'll give you some heads up. But moving forward, obviously following directions, which for us, it works time-wise for me, and I think it's fair time-wise for you, that we're pressing play, we're setting our hours, and we're working our hours where we, for our schedules, what works for us. But pressing play, setting hours, and working those time frames. So, that's your schedule, not mine, right? The other thing is it's really, really important that we have success and results in this group. So anything that detracts from that, which would be making excuses or complaining or, going backbiting back behind. I actually had a issue where people, not anybody that we're listening right now, but where they went and talk and then it gets back to you in a round robin way. I won't be doing any more. Like, that's a big time waster. If a person doesn't want to come and talk directly or whatever, do you know what I'm saying? It's just like, we got to just make sure that we stay really focused, because we're in leadership development, which means we show grace and mercy back and forth. You know what I mean? As we're learning, as we're growing. I'm part of the group with you guys on this. I'm not like the head honcho. We're just like, we're doing this together moving forward. So that's pretty important, is obviously the mindset each of us have. But the other thing is, keep in mind, and I'm working with Tammy on this, because we have so many breeders that we work with, and it's kind of important they know ahead of time when the next first step is, of whether or not they're going to breed that time or if they're going to leave that weekend open. I asked Tammy, I said, can I kind of have a heads up, a general time frame? I know Danny can't say this weekend for sure, and then if she says, oh, it's this one, and then everybody's mad at her, she can't say that. So she can give us a proximity. I think they're willing to work with us on that, but I'm still waiting to find out, which would help us a lot moving forward in leadership development. But what I'm going to be making the requirement to stay in this group is what I've done. And that's what I attend about every other event, like say if there, which would end up being at least half of the events in the year. And I do one dynasty. And my husband and I, that's a sweet spot we can do. I say bare minimum, that's a bare minimum to be in this group. Because if you're not doing that much, how can you invite other people alongside of you to create leaders in your own group, right? So just keep that on your radars. I'm going to keep everybody in this group, even if you're not going to Washington, D.C., because when Washington, D.C. happens, that's when the game's going to get stepped up. Because I know, like Jeannie, you probably didn't have time to say, wait a minute, but that weekend's not even open yet. I got something going on. Fine.
Which weekend?
Well, the Washington, D.C. Right.
April?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been busy showing my dogs. So
okay.
Usually most weekends I'm busy.
Okay, so but like if we can have Tammy help us project the weekend out, that's what I want to have you guys have a mindset like that. Keep it on your radar, because moving forward to stay in the group, that's going to be one of the big things, is we're all staying plugged in. Because the goal with this is that on the weekends I can't go, I have team leaders that can be there, stepping up, pulling their weight, pulling the rest of the group along. The more center of influence we can have as leadership in our team, I want leaders to come alongside and be there with me pulling. So that's what we're doing in this group, is like duplication, and moving forward. So this will become a fine-tuned thing. And also adding into this group, I've discovered that you don't just add people willy-nilly. They have no clue what it means to be in this group. And when they get in here, all of a sudden they get cold feet and they're like, their breath gets taken away, and I don't know if I want to do that. And so pre-qualification to even be added to this group, they have to go to first steps. And then from there, I'm going to interview them and see if it's a fit. So, and then we want the right team in here that I can focus on, because it takes time on my end, and I want to be getting results for you guys too, that you guys are getting results out of it. So is that all clear to everybody? Any questions on that?
I do have a different question though.
Sure.
This coming weekend is an expo, a 2-day expo, and I was just wondering if anybody had any luck doing that or actually got clients from that.
I would say personally, and my experience has been, go to those events not as a person with the table, but as a person with the samples in the bag, walking around and forming each one of those people who have tables at the expo. It's more successful, it will cost you less, and you'll make better connections, because you're not there trying to sell anybody. You're going asking them questions.
Yeah.
Finding their needs, strengths, interests, goals, have your samples right there with you, information, business cards, right, get their information. And that's how I would approach that.
Okay. My sister-in-law runs the expo, so she's part of the city council or something. So
yeah, okay.
So she was wanting me to do it.
Oh, in that case, do it with her.
Huh?
In that case, do it with her. But is she doing Royal Canin?
No. Oh gosh, no. She does oils.
Oh yeah, get in there. Yeah, get in there. If she's already paid for a table, use the opportunity. Don't ever pass that up. But I'm just saying, if it's by yourself, I've had more effect doing it the other way.
Okay. And then when I went to the dog show in Denver is a huge show, there was only one person selling dog food, and it wasn't Purine or anybody. It was, oh gosh, I can't remember what dog food was. Do you remember, Tony, when I told you?
Was it Isle of Dogs?
I don't remember.
But yeah, it's a huge show too. So I don't understand why there's only one person with a dog food booth.
Yeah. You'll want to form those breeders, those people showing their dogs. You've got a huge area there.
Right.
You go around and visit with people. Family to them is their dogs. You start talking about their family and ask them questions, they're gonna just like vomit all over you, everything, all their information. It's gonna be all out for you. Right?
Yeah, I'm going down with a breeder to Fort Worth the next weekend after that expo deal. But
okay,
so
that's a great opportunity.
She feeds Royal Canin.
Okay.
So I'm gonna work on her.
All right. Yeah, good. Okay, so write your questions down for next week's meeting. We'll do this weekly, and good job, you guys. So next week, keep pressing play, and now we're just gonna start actually doing what we're doing. And don't. I'd like all of you guys to take opportunity to create more interaction in the group. So don't just leave it up to me to post in there. If you have something encouraging to say or results you're getting. I don't know if it was Morgan or Jennifer that went back to work the first Monday after First Steps to Success and had a really great story about the Sapphire that restocked their cart. And
It was Heather.
Oh, I didn't see it. What?
It was Heather? Okay, that's right. It was Heather. Anyway,
It was
yeah.
Heather.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. But I mean, just things like that. You can post anything encouraging. Let's get some interaction going in that group and encourage one another. Any advancement improvements you make or tweaks that are working well for you or tips that something, throw it out there. It creates more engagement and maybe questions can come out a little bit more if people get more help as they move forward, working their leads and stuff.
I started using the human products too, and I really like them. I like the fact that it doesn't have a lot of sugar in all the products you're drinking, and
yeah,
they're really good.
I love the human products. The side of it is crazy. Yeah. So the more, right, you're being a product of your product. So, and share those stories in your testimonial group. Keep driving your center of influence and helping that go home, because that testimonial page is big too. But moving forward this week, mainly pressing play, tracking your numbers. And unless you want me to, accountability, you can throw that in the group under that tracking thread post, but you're your own competition. So pressing play, tracking your numbers, competing against yourself. Make sure your hours are set using the 80-19 1% rule. So of the hours you set to work, 80% of the time is you're contacting people to talk to, 19% is training, and 1% is troubleshooting. Keep your numbers there. And that's what I'm trying to do. People get mad at me saying, you're not having enough support. And like, nope, keeping on my own time schedule. And then we'll meet weekly on Saturdays to kind of just follow up, fine tune, and make sure also you can review the petbiztraining.com. The outline for the presentation success system is in the 500 to 2K a month training. We're duplicating that, making sure you're doing that. And when you bring on new people, that's right where you start them. Keep it going like that. So does anybody have any questions? I think other than that, we'll wrap it up.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Really
thanks you guys.
Great seeing everybody.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank
And
you.
Tony, I'm going to have you on for Monday. No switcheroos. I have a meeting. I'm doing a War on Debt class on Monday with my husband. So
Okay.
I will not be there. I'm going to try to get him set up so he can have his own account to be able to manage the call. You're
Okay.
on for the first half. He's the second half. Presentation's the same this week as it was last week. We're going to keep it the same for the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
And with you two, I'll probably have you guys fine tuning that script. So in other words, you'll be run it by me first, but if you say, hey, I have a really good skin and coat testimonial, or another great poop testimonial, great fertility testimonial, we can switch those up.
Okay.
And then we're always going to be on the lookout. I need scouts on the lookout, Tony, for you and David, for a new 4-star. I always like this on the calls, 3 testimonials for life's abundance. So it would be 4 stars are nice to have. So 1 4-star, 1 5 to 6-star, and 1 7 to 9-star.
I gotta go. Thanks, Judy.
Yeah. Okay. See ya. So for you, Tony, that moving forward, not this week, not the next week, not even after that, probably, but moving forward, we're gonna kind of be having you guys help manage that, to put that together, to kind of get new content every once in a while. That kind
Perfect.
of awesome. Okay, I will be in touch with you, Tony, in particular for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Before
Perfect.
Monday. Okay.
Okay. Sounds
Thank you,
good.
guys. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.